G'day everyone, Found the Champ Dog. Thanks for tuning in. It's good to be back with you. So today we're jumping into Historic. There's a little bit more Grixis, which if you've been watching for quite a while, you know I love this deck. I loved Bolas, see it more in the Spark. But anyway, here we are. So I've seen this deck kicking around a bit online this week. Showed up randomly on my Google suggested things feed. I think I saw it on Reddit Spikes at some point. A few people have covered this and similar lists on YouTube. Particularly I watched a great video from Howling Minds on YouTube last night and decided I really want to give this a try. I think the deck was originally made by a guy called Bob and Cheese, just to give credit where credit is due. So this is not my list, it's unedited. I may be tweaking it if I enjoy it as much as I think I will. But the basic idea of the deck is it's a lower curve Grixis control list. And your sort of combo is Valki, God of Lies with Release to the Wind. So Release to the Wind, if you haven't heard of this, I don't blame you. It's a terrible, terrible card. It's from the Ixalan block. It's a 3-mana rare instant, exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. So the idea is you slap down a Valki on turn 2, release it, and then you can pay the 7-mana side without paying its mana cost. So that's a pretty neat interaction. And then to get a little more mileage out of the card, we've got a few adventure creatures, Bonecrusher Giant, Brazen Borrower, Murderous Rider. Because if you have those on the battlefield, you can release them, play the adventure side without paying its mana cost, and still replay the creature side. Similarly with Nickel Bolas, you can just bounce it and play it again to discard another card, but it also gives you, similar to Valki, gives you a little bit of late game, turning into a 7-mana Planeswalker. But the thing I like about this deck is the curve actually stops at 4. We don't have 5-mana Bolas or any larger spells. We're relying on Valki and Bolas to give us plays in the late game that are also relevant in the early and mid game, which is why I like this, because when Valki first got spoiled, I actually had the idea of putting it into a historic Grixis list that topped its curve at 4, as 5-mana Bolas is just like so hard to cast, it butchers your mana base, and it honestly just doesn't do enough. The other options you have are like Ashiok or Angrath the Flame Chained, and are really, I don't know, I don't think they're doing enough. I think Grixis does slightly better as a slightly more proactive mid-rangey control list, which this allows you to do with the adventure creatures, particularly Bonecrusher Giant, but Brazen Borrower as well. Just gives you a little bit of extra pressure in the early game, and yeah, as I said, Valki is good in the early game and still relevant in the late game. So it's just a nice tool to have access to. I never got around to actually building a list. But then when I saw this, I was like, I remember wanting to do something like that. So we're just going to jump in, play it as is, and once we're a little more familiar with the deck and with the format, we might make a few tweaks and try to make our own version of this list. But yeah, let's jump on in and see how we go. Okay, so we're on the draw against someone who's slightly more erotic than usual. This hand's not amazing, but I think it's acceptable. They've got some early plays. We've got some card draw to help us get into some more action, and we've got a nice mix of lands in all of our colours. So whilst this hand isn't exciting, these sleeves are beautiful. This is the Seth McKinnon Damnation. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. Yeah, while this hand isn't exciting, I think it's definitely acceptable. So given we don't have anything to do right now, did the opponent take a mulligan as well? They did, excellent. We're just going to play this tapped. It means we don't have Fatal Push, but there's nothing on board, and seeing Watery Grave, I think we might be up against a more controlling list, so I don't know how valuable Fatal Push would be to us anyway. So we're just going to foretell the whole multiverse here. I'm going to turn down the game volume a little bit. Okay, Cycle Strike Typhoon for nothing. I really want these sleeves, they're gorgeous. Do any of you know how to get them? Let me know if you do. Hold still up, what do you do? Okay, you're a snow ramp part of that. Oh no, Thought Seized. Yep, Ravage is definitely the strongest card in our hand there, makes sense to take it. We're going to play this. It just delays the point at which we need to make a decision about these. Tempo Giant. We can just as easily tempo Borrower at the end of our opponent's turn. We could play out a Giant here, but it's the one card that our opponent doesn't know about. But it's still pretty tempting to just slap it down while they're tapped out. But I think we just wait and see what our opponent does. Unfortunate to lose our Ravager, but it was a pretty obvious take for them. So an inherent 2-for-1 and also relevant in the late game, and this game will be going long. I don't understand why an Esper deck is playing a ramp spell like this. I think we can fire on the whole multiverse. I don't think they counter this. Double Valki. I definitely don't think we need 2 Valkies. Although, it does let us play one and get a kill just to take a peek in the hand and still have one left over for later. You know what, I've talked myself into it. It's probably a bad idea. And that's kind of why I love it. We draw the release to the wind, never punished. So we've got 2 red, 2 black, and 2 blue at the moment. I think we take another black here. And yeah, let's take a peek at our opponent's hand. See what they're working with. So Extinction Event, Eliminate, and Censor. Okay, good to know. So they've got a fairly empty hand against us at this point. Eliminate, sure. I bought this little kitty cat over here because it was cute and I wanted it. It cost me way more gems than it's probably worth. But look at it. Look at it. Opponent has missed a land drop here. They cycled their Censor. So given that they've missed a land drop, I actually think I'm just going to bounce this. So I now only have access to 1 blue. I still think I'd rather have more black. We're going to take another little peek at their hands, and we do have the release to the wind to save it. Looks like they have another 2-mana piece of interaction. So not only do we get our combo, we get a card out of our opponent's hand.
Okay. Oh, so many painful memories.
So that was a pretty good turn for us. Definitely puts our opponent on the back foot. Yep, replay Cold Steel. First things first, we're going to take on Tibalt.
Let's play a little game.
Okay, and our opponent scoops. That was a pretty good game 1. Okay, so we probably want Negate, we probably want Mystical Dispute, we probably want Thoughtseize. Probably don't need Eliminate and Heartless Act as much. Actually, I'll keep the Eliminate because they could have a Narset. We'll have 1 Eliminate, 1 Heartless Act. Yeah, I think this is reasonable. I mean, we don't really know what our opponent's doing. I assume it's some kind of Esper control. They obviously have counter spells, but we don't really know what their list is. We don't know if they have creatures or not. So I don't want to take out... I don't mind having a Heartless Act in there as a good removal spell, although I doubt we need it. As I said, Eliminate can hit Narset, but we also just don't have a lot of great options to replace them with. Like, our sideboard is very much skewed towards creature matches, I think. Let's grab a mint. So the deck has a fairly good pedigree so far. The person who created it played it to very high mythic on the historic ladder. The stream that I watched yesterday, Howling Mind, as I said, he played it from I think 99% into about the top 50 or so. His hand's not amazing, because these cards could be fairly redundant. But the Thought Season saw it coming, or at least decent, so I think this is keepable. And we do have the... Okay, so this needs to be red. We may want double blue, so honestly I think we're shocking in and So they have a lot of counter spells. I could snag a counter spell here, but I think I'm going to take it to Ferry. They've got 3 counter spells, so taking one doesn't make a huge amount of difference. They've only got 2 proactive plays, so we need to remember that this is saw it coming. They've only got 1 proactive play left in this hand, and it's going to be a long time before they can play it, and especially play it and still hold up. A counter. I think we just take this turn to tell. Does look like these two are going to be fairly redundant. We'll obviously hang on to this for as long as we can, and we'll kill a Teferi in it. I think we go for double blue here, and I think we just play out the red. I'm just turning down the volume a little bit more. I don't know what it's going to be like for you guys, but some of these effects are getting a bit loud. Okay, opponent scoops it up. They missed a land drop. So that seemed to happen to them in both games, so I wonder if they're just not running enough lands, but it's nice to get the win regardless. So we're on the draw again, this time against everyone's favourite dessert. Again, it's a hand that doesn't seem amazing, but seems acceptable. We do have access to all 3 colours of mana, even though it's only one of each. So this will be black, this will be blue, this will be red, for example. But we have some card draw, we have a counter, we've got a Ravager. Release seems fairly redundant in this hand. It's easily the worst card in the deck. I'm thinking of trying to build a version of this without release and just seeing how a lower curved Grixis list goes, just on the strength of Tibalt and Ravager. But we shall see. Minimize my list so I can play with the cat. Thought sees, okay. Oh, how did I get that? Oh, there it is. So what did they take? My counter spell. Sure. So I'm guessing this is another Esper control list. I guess it could be also Bolas, it's way too early. Okay, we're seeing Mardu. Is it Mardu vehicles? Okay, this card is legitimately a problem for us. As anyone who played Grixis Bolas in the M20 era will know, this can be quite a miserable card to play against. So we'll just make the play that we have. And take it on the chin here. I wonder if this is like... Is this a weird Mardu Vampires list, or just some sort of Mardu aggro? Yeah, it looks like Mardu aggro. So they've got Scourge, and they've probably got Death Shadowed in as well. So we're probably going to be Heartless acting this turn. I think we take the damage here. It's obviously a lot of damage, but such is. Okay. So I think we take the opportunity to Heartless Act, see if they have a response. That's unfortunate. So I'll be honest, it doesn't look like we're going to win this particular match. Oh, I don't have a basic land for that. I should have played this first to try and get an untapped land. So honestly, I think we're just going to save our time and our opponent's time, move on to game 2. So Legion's End and Cry and Languish are all going to be good here. I think we can cut some release. Probably cut the Borrowers. I don't know how helpful they're going to be. What else is not filling me with joy for this matchup? Do I just cut all of these? Bring in another Thoughtseize. I don't know. I'm also not very playing Thoughtseize. The card actually, it makes me nervous. I did a Princess Bolas list in Pioneer, and I lost so many games to just taking damage from Thoughtseize and Shocklands. I don't think we can keep this, knowing that we are against an aggressive list. I don't think this is capable. Against a control list or a slower list, I think this might be acceptable. But I think we need a little more defense. So this hand is obviously a lot better, except that it only has one land, but this is more what we want to see. So we unfortunately need to mulligan to 5 here. And we put back probably Blood Crypt, and this is actually quite difficult. Probably Tibalt pathway. So Behold the Multiverse can let us catch up on cards. Heartless Act lets us kill something. Thoughtseize also gives us something to do. But I really don't like going down to 2 lands. I think we need to take the Vanguard because we don't have another way to answer it. We unfortunately are going to lose one of our cards to their Thoughtseize. Though Mercury is really good for them. I don't see a way out for us this game, unfortunately. I'm guessing they take Behold. Okay, Heartless Act, interesting. There's a fairly straightforward play. It's really the only play we have. Yep, Bowman Courier. Double Courier. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, that's pretty nice for us actually. Is pretty nice for us. What would you do? Search it up for 3 cards to build into your hand. So do we want to Valki this? I mean, I kind of think we have to, but let's see if we can find a land first. I do like Bone Crusher Giant, but I don't think we can afford to keep it right now. We desperately need land. Never punished. I wish this was a Bone Crusher Giant, but I think it's not. So this lets them search up the Death Shadow. That's a nice little interaction. This is so bad for us. So bad for us. Okay, yeah, I think we're just dead here, so let's move on. Alright guys, so that's the deck. Grixis Valki release. I've had a bunch of fun playing this. I've been playing this for about a day and a half now. Almost all of yesterday and a fair bit of today as well. What do I think of the deck? I think it's a lot of fun. It's a deck that I enjoy. I don't know that it's a fantastic deck. It still has a bunch of the weaknesses that Grixis decks have. They struggle to catch up sometimes. They don't have a lot of life gain. It's difficult to deal with enchantments. Artifacts are a little easier. Valki can exile artifacts, even though we don't have any other artifact hate in this deck. Valki can handle that. And I haven't been coming across too many. I'm a little disappointed with how I've done with the deck, because I've seen people on video go like 9-1, for example. I've heard of people going like 16-1, 6-1, like doing really well with the deck, and I've been struggling to even hit like a 50% win rate. I think according to my MTGA assistant, my win rate's just below 50% at the moment. So look, some of those games I did get fairly unlucky, and there's a couple of wins that aren't counted by the deck tracker. I don't know if it just wasn't running properly for those matches, but neither here nor there. I haven't performed as well with this deck, or it hasn't performed as well for me as for a lot of other people. Now, I know a lot of that is me. Particularly in my first games, a lot of yesterday, I made a lot of mistakes piloting the deck. I was a bit tense and quite tired while playing. I made a lot of mistakes and some sloppy plays. Got a little bit impatient at the wrong times, was maybe a little bit too impatient at other times. So part of that's just me as a player, not having played Magic for a while. I haven't played much in the past month, that I haven't been posting a lot. I haven't played a lot of Historic, and what I have been playing in the past month has been aggro decks, which is very different to this. So there are some things contributing to me just being a little rusty. There are also just, obviously, I'm far from the best player in the world, so there's just some mistakes that I made and some piloting issues, as well as some just like luck of the draw. I got a bunch of bad matchups. I've been run over by aggro decks, particularly elves, quite a few times, and just had really bum luck with some draws. I've probably made some bad decisions sideboarding. So like, there's a lot of factors. Probably the biggest one is just piloting skill, to be fair, because as I said, I've seen a lot of people do very well with this deck, but I've loved it. I was just going to do one video of this, but I've actually recorded a bunch of games. Some are good games, some are not so good, but I'm going to be putting up a series of videos with this deck, basically trying to like grind up the ladder a little bit. You'll get to see what I mean with some of the mistakes that I've made, and hopefully see my play improve a little bit in some of the later videos. But yeah, I've enjoyed this deck enough that I want to continue playing it, and I have played it a lot, so there'll probably be a series of videos featuring this deck and variations of it. There's a few things with the current deck list and sideboard that I would like to tweak, but we shall see that in some future videos, because I already have quite a lot of content based on this iteration of the deck. It is the original version of the deck, so I wanted to share it with you as is, and we might see some variations in future. But yeah, that's what's going to be happening. You're going to be seeing a bit of this deck on the channel over the next week or so, so I hope you've enjoyed it. my past viewing history sort of indicates I do have a few Grixis fans amongst my viewers, so eat your hearts out, guys. This does seem like a much better Grixis deck than I've seen in a while. Definitely seems more competitive than the Grixis Bolas list that I've pretty much given up on in Historic. So yeah, I've enjoyed it, and for that reason you're going to see a fair bit of it. But thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, thanks for listening to me. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, stay brilliant.